I believe in starting with thankfulness. And of course, I thank all of you for coming today. But more than anything, I want to thank Jesus for giving me such a great mom. And she was. She was one of a kind, and if you could look up her name in the dictionary, I think there would be many words to describe her. The words that describe her that I'm going to focus on today are Christian, Republican, friend, practical, organizer, and mom. Another word that would describe my mom was storyteller. It wasn't easy because I know my mom liked to share a lot, but I tried to come up with some stories that you guys may have never heard. So here we go, Sandra Worsham, the mom. You can see my brother Brad's gray hair, and underneath all this hair dye and the purple that I put in honor of my mom, I'm also all gray. I used to joke with my mom that we grayed so early because of our troublesome childhood. You know, we never really knew where our next meal would come from. Just kidding. The reality is nothing could be further from the truth. In fact, it is hard to talk about our childhood without sounding like we are bragging. Whether we went crabbing here in Maryland or took our boat out to go flounder fishing, whether we were snow skiing in Stowe, Vermont, or water skiing in Deep Creek, whether we were traveling the country, Canada, or Mexico, whether we were staying at one of our vacation homes, my mom was always there with us, involved in making sure that we had an adventurous and loving childhood. She ran VBS for our church, she was a Girl Scout leader, and made sure that we took up musical instruments and were active in sports. She was an amazing mom. I've heard so many people say, I want better for my kids than what I had growing up. And it was a great blessing to tell my mom this past Mother's Day the truth, that if I could give my kids 10% of what my mom gave me, I would be doing okay as a mom. Okay, Sandra Worsham, the organizer. She always managed to pull it together for a party or gathering, but the white index card, note cards she used to make lists with were everywhere in the house. The whole house could be clean, but her desk was always a cluttered mess of note cards. I swear she made lists just to try to organize her lists. A few months ago, she wanted me to pick her up and take her shopping. When she got in the car, she started showing me her new fabulous purple purse with all the pockets for her to put stuff in. I brought props. This is her purse, okay? And I quote, this is what she said, Valerie, I'm telling you, this is the most organized thing in town. I spent hours organizing this purse yesterday, and I marked each pocket with a Sharpie pen so I can find exactly what I need. Of course I acted like I thought that was fabulous. Well, we got to Walmart, shopped, and then when it was time to pay, she could not find where she put her credit cards anywhere. She was looking in all the pockets, and there's a lot of pockets in this guy because this one opens up too. She was looking in all the pockets and saying out loud, where would I have put it? No, it's not under P, that's for pens. It's not under S, that's for my snacks. Thank God there was nobody else behind us in line. After she searched for a minute or so, I finally grabbed her purple purse and started searching all of the pockets myself. I found this one on the side. That's a dollar sign. I said, Mom, it's right here. It's a dollar sign. She said, no, that's for cash. I need my credit cards. I said, okay. We were laughing and laughing as she searched. It was one of those really big belly laughs where you pee your pants a little. But the thing is, my mom was wearing her Depends and I wasn't. I inevitably had to pay because it was taking too long. When we were driving again in the car, she finally found them. They were under K in a little holder with her Kaiser cards. It didn't make sense to me, but she was happy and I was happy. Sandra Worsham, the practical. My mom always tried to look her best. She had her eyebrows tattooed on, always left the house in a dress and made sure her nail polish was done and lipstick on. She wore big jewelry proudly and always had a smile. But she shopped at Ross, Marshall's, the dollar store, and her favorite store was Costco. As much as it mattered to her to look good stepping out of the house, she didn't hesitate to step out with her purple canvas purse covered with Sharpie letters. Because she was practical and not showy. There were no Louis Vuitton purses in her closet, or at least none that I found yet. She loved a bargain, and she would have been so happy if we could have used a Groupon on all of her funeral arrangements today, but we could not find them. Sandra Worsham, the friend. It is going to be hard for me not to have my mom to call and ask for her opinion. For me as her daughter, if I asked my mom what to do and did it her way and failed, at least I could always look back and say to myself, that's what my mom wanted me to do. Now I guess I will have to fail on my own. As most of you sit here as her friend, I can only imagine that she was a great friend to call for advice. She had an opinion on everything and wasn't afraid to share it. Today I'm going to tell you about one of her friends you may not know about. They have been friends for a few years now and were very, very close. They talked multiple times a day. My mom trusted this friend for just about everything. I went over to her house last year, and when I walked in, she was talking to this friend, asking one by one the value of each coin in her coin collection. She wrote down everything this friend was saying, trying to appraise her full collection. This friend was the first person she would ask on how to get somewhere, and my mom would follow her directions implicitly. I'm telling you the truth. If she didn't know the answer to something, she would ask Jesus, and if he didn't answer her, she would ask Siri. One day we were planning something, and I asked her to look on her phone to see what day Halloween fell on, instead of opening her phone to the calendar, which is what I would have done. She immediately went to Siri to ask what day October 31st was this year. They were so close that I kind of looked for an arrangement from Siri when I got here, but I didn't find one. All right, Sandra Worsham, the Republican. Being a Republican meant something to her. I remember 6 or 10 years ago, she was on her way to visit Maryland, where one of her best friends had offered her the use of their second car during her stay. Being the practical, bargain-hunting person that she was, she immediately accepted their generous offer. However, this friend is also a very proud Democrat. I said to her, Mom, what if they have an Obama Biden sticker on their car? What are you going to do? You can't take it off. All of a sudden, I could see the anxiety building up in her face, and she really didn't know what she would do. We discussed some scenarios like taking it off and then replacing it upon returning the car. But in the end, she said, I guess we will have to wait and see what happens. Thank God there wasn't a sticker, because I know my mom couldn't give up a free car, but she also wouldn't have been able to drive around advertising for something she didn't believe either. Sandra Worsham, the Christian, and really that's all that matters to my mom. This is the only category that counts. A day or two after my mom passed away, a minister that had retired and moved into my parents' retirement facility came over to my dad's apartment to visit. He sat down and said that God had put it on his heart to come and see my dad. I was thankful to have been there when he sat down, because he described my mom in the most perfect way that I have ever heard her described. This is what he said. Your wife, Sandra, had a gift for bringing people together, and so often that was for the greater good, and that greater good was Jesus. He had only known my mom for a few short months, and it amazes me that he could see that in my mom so quickly. Today, my mom is at it again. She has brought us all here together. Now I feel she would be asking you to let our gathering today be for the greater good and let Jesus minister to you. Approximately 15 years ago, I was visiting Hawaii, and I found a tape in my mom's dresser drawer. It was labeled, Song to Play at My Funeral. I asked her about it, and she said that she had planned out several things she wants at her funeral. Among those things were me speaking and playing a selection of songs. We sang Amazing Grace, per her request earlier, and now we're all going to listen to the song that she labeled for her funeral so many years ago. This song is called If You Could See Me Now. The words are written in your program, but I don't want anybody singing it. Just kind of take it in and listen to the words. But I put the words in your bulletin because they're so amazing and prophetic as to how her life here on earth ended and her everlasting life began. My mom would then take some time to think about what they had told her, and then she would usually call the nurses back in to her room to reschedule certain therapies for a later time or move something up an hour. And mind you, the nurses were listening to her and doing what she asked. I was thinking, Mom, you're a crazy person. You have IVs in your arm, a catheter, and you can't walk. You're not going anywhere. Why can't you just lay here? When they show up, they show up. I asked her that, and she answered me, well, I have to eat lunch too, and they always ask me what time they should deliver it. Okay, Mom. I hope that all of us here today will make it to heaven to walk on the streets of gold with my mom and sit at Jesus' feet with no schedule to keep. You know, the saddest part for me and my mom not being with us anymore is that I will no longer be able to call her and tell her what one of my children have accomplished. I can no longer text her a picture of her grandchildren looking absolutely adorable. She loved her grandkids. My parents moved out to California 4 months before my youngest son Luke was born. My mom was able to see firsthand all of Luke's one-year milestones. It has been a wonderful time, and it was really something special because she was never able to experience that with my older two. Although they would visit, we would do FaceTime. Her being here, involved for the first year of Luke's life, was a blessing. I have the hope that my older two children are old enough to have some memories of their Nana. It hurts my heart, though, that Luke was only 13 months old when she passed away, and I know that he won't remember her. Although we have a lot of pictures of Nana holding him, and although we will certainly tell him stories about Nana, will he ever believe how fiercely loved he really was? Other than me, I think only my dad understands how immensely my mom adored Luke. These thoughts, more than any other so far, have brought me to tears since her passing. Then one night, I felt the Lord speaking to me, telling me that this situation is just like the love that he has for all of us.